Hello friends, good morning. My name is Dr. Anuja Shukla and today we are going to talk about how to make a synopsis. A synopsis is a very important part of the PhD thesis. So, when we start to plan for the PhD thesis, most of the universities ask for a synopsis at the time of the interview. So, this is a kind of brief you can learn how to frame a synopsis when you are either submitting it for the PhD admission or for the PhD thesis. So, first thing that we need to have in a synopsis is a title page. So, what should come in the title page? First of all, you should mention very clearly the topic of your title page. So when you have finalized the topic, you need to place it, and again, different universities are having different guidelines. So you need to check and confirm with your university format also, right? So this is a sample format you can take. Based on the university guidelines, you have to select the font size, design, and the things to be included or excluded from your synopsis. So, first of all, we'll write the topic, then we will write what this piece of document is all about. So, this document is a synopsis. So, we have to write synopsis of research work. Then you have to mention the name of your guide and you have to put down the heading under the supervision of your guide name, the affiliation of your guide, the university, the department. It should be followed by a sentence like in pursuance of the requirements for the partial fulfillment for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, or this statement could vary from university to university, right? So this you can take any sample synopsis of your own university and that you can download from Shodhganga. So in Shodhganga, most of the universities have uploaded the PhD thesis of the past students as per the norms of UGC. So you can just follow 2-3 samples of your own university to follow the guidelines and the language to be used. Then you will write submitted by the name of the scholar, followed by the name of the university and the year in which you are submitting. So this is kind of a draft look how your title page will appear. Then let's talk about the format of the synopsis. What things go into making of a synopsis and what we have to write in the synopsis. First thing that we have to write is introduction. So in this video, I'm just giving my personal opinion. I'm not saying this is the correct method because every researcher, every guide and every university have their own format and their own opinion. So we are talking about a general guideline. So in the introduction section, you can tell about what is this research is all about, why did you choose this topic, or why this topic is important to be studied. If we are doing any kind of research which has got no use or which is not important, so it's not contributing to the society, right? Therefore, whenever we make a synopsis, the introduction should clearly explain that what led you to choose this particular topic. You are choosing maybe banking, maybe you are choosing health, education, or maybe you are choosing consumer behavior, online shopping, whatever you plan to choose, but you must explain why it is important and why did you choose that particular topic. You should provide some industry statistics, you should provide some literature gap, you should provide some benefits to the society, because a research that does not contribute to the society is not considered to be useful or fruitful research, right? So that everything should come in this part. After that, next thing is we should write about the industry profile. So whenever you are doing any kind of research, it will be related to any particular industry, maybe healthcare industry, maybe shopping industry, maybe internet, maybe banking, any whatever industry, because we are doing like particularly I'm talking about business management research. So in business management research, we have to present the brief profile using some statistics, some data, that how this particular industry is growing. For other subjects, you may provide the conceptual you can say profile of the area, like in social sciences, or in arts or humanities or in mathematics. Industry profile, if you are doing an application based research, it is must. But if it is more of theoretical or pure research, then this part could be avoided. Next, and the most important part of the entire synopsis, is the review of literature. So, what is review of literature? How to do that? We will cover in upcoming videos. But synopsis must have in-depth review of literature, where we will tell what the previous scholars have done, how much work has been completed by them, and how much work is pending. So why do we write review of literature? We do write review of literature because we are doing a research. We are a very small part of the big research, and the research started from people years before us, and many new researchers will continue to do so in upcoming many new years, right? So we are a small part of that. We have to tell, for example, if I'm developing a vaccine for coronavirus, so I cannot just start taking anything and start doing research, right? I need to read some literature, that maybe something like this happened in the past, and maybe X medicine was fruitful, and because that some author has told in the paper that this medicine is fruitful, therefore I am also planning to use this kind of medicine. So you have to always consult, so see, believe like these previous researchers are like our seniors. They have done a lot of work, so we need to borrow from their work, that what much work they have done, what is left which is required for the industry. So from there we'll also get the research gap. Okay, so review of literature leads to the research gap. So this much work has been done, this much work is pending and could be done, because it will help everyone. He'll benefit people from academia, and it will benefit people from management perspective, and therefore we are continuing with this review of literature. So based on the review of literature, you will develop your hypothesis. The hypothesis statements will be covered again in upcoming videos. So based on review of literature, you have to find out some variables. From that, you have to make a hypothesis, and that will be a solid framework, right? From the review of literature, you will also find your need of the study. So that is the research gap we are talking about. Whenever you go for PhD, the first question comes is, what is the gap? So people come up with various answers, that this research has never been done in the past. That is not an acceptable answer, right? Why? Because there is nothing like that, this research has not been done in the past. There must be people who have done research before us. So we need to find out where they finished or left out their work, and why this particular part of research is important in the current scenario. Based on that, you can develop your need, and how, again, as I explained, how this gap will be filled, and it will help in industry or in academia. So that is called as the need of the study, or also known as the research gap, right? And this is the, you can say, heart of the synopsis, because if you don't have a very strong research gap, uh, then synopsis stands rejected. So and many scholars say that this study has not been done in India. So that doesn't constitutes to be a research gap, because if some mobile phone which has been made in USA or maybe Russia, we can easily buy it in India. So now we are on a global platform. Don't come up with the answers like the study has not been done in a particular area, so it is the gap. No, if some study has been done, so we assume that it is applicable for everyone. So if we do something like that, it is called as replication of the study. You can add something new, or you can reduce, or you can look at the same problem with some new angle. So these things are considerable. But geographically, if you are saying, so that's not much uh, accepted by the fraternity. So next, when you get the need of the study, after identifying the need of the study, you must define the objectives. that see, there may be large gaps and the research is very wide, so it is very important to limit yourself that in this study I'm going to do this point 1, point 2, point 3, right? Those are very concrete, solid, explainable and measurable objectives. So keep your objectives very concise, and always remember it should match with the topic of the study. Many times it happens that the objectives and need and review of literature does not matches the introduction. So remember the synopsis. If synopsis is body, then these are the different parts of body. One is hand, one is liver, one is kidney, one is heart. They cannot work in isolation. So one of the most important challenge for the researcher is to keep them aligned. Okay, so when you start with the introduction, present your profile, present the literature review of the same topic. So if you will go to Google, there are thousands of research papers, but they all not be useful for you. They may not be from your own field of research, right? So from there you will find out the objectives of this study and you will inform that I'm going to cover these particular 4 objectives. In some formats, the need and objective is merged with the introduction section. So again, you have to refer to the guidelines or the format of your university. Next, you should form a conceptual framework. So conceptual framework can also be a part of review of literature. So what is conceptual framework? When you do a review of literature, you identify 4-5 points or 4-5 variables on which you are going to do your study. Based on that, you make a framework, a diagram like this leads x leads to y, right? So from that your hypothesis will be generated again. So these points sequence could be changed as per the guidelines of the university. But you should know that you have to mention the conceptual framework for a good synopsis. Next, you can see the research methodology. This is the skeleton of your synopsis. So without the skeleton, body cannot stand. Many times we have a very good gap, we have a very good hypothesis or conceptual framework, but if our methodology is not strong, our results will not be accepted. It's just like I'm having the perfect ingredients for my recipe, but I could not cook well, so nobody is going to eat my dish, right? So very strongly we have to frame our research methodology, in which we have to talk about different things like the research design. So in research design, you have to tell whether it's exploratory research, explanatory research, causal research, applied research, pure research, what kind of research design you are going ahead with. It's a descriptive research. So you have to tell, number one, which research design you are using, and number two, why you are using. So always remember in synopsis, whatever you are writing, you must mention why. Question yourself, why did I choose this topic? Why did I choose this review of literature? Why did I choose this hypothesis? Why I'm taking only these objectives? Why did I not think about anything else? Or why I'm choosing this particular research design? So if you can write answers to such questions, then your synopsis. After the research design, the next thing that we should cover is the sampling design. What is a sampling design? Sampling design is, or you can say, a blueprint of how you are going to choose your sample. So in this you have to define your type of sampling, like you have to mention whether it's going to be a convenience, judgmental, snowball, it's going to be a cluster sampling, it's going to be a stratified sampling. Whatever you are choosing, always justify why did you choose that particular kind of sampling, because if the choice of selection of your sample is wrong, then their responses will be wrong and the research results will be wrong. So in all these points we have to always remember, whatever we are framing or whatever we are doing, we should be able to justify the correctness or the rightness of the selection of that particular thing. Then we should explain the sample frame. Sample frame is that particular area from where you are going to select your respondents. You are selecting from some university, you are selecting from some bank, from particular area like Delhi NCR or Kolkata, or let's say you are doing a pan India study or UP, but you should have some statistics or some relevant industry, you can say, data that can support you, that why are you only doing this study in this particular region, and why are you choosing people from this area. Then after that you have to describe about the sample size, whether you are going to have a large sample, small sample. But sometimes the scholars just try 200, 300, 500. But why 500? Why did not you choose 499 or 501? You must have a statistical proof for choosing the size of the sample. So you should know why are you selecting, let's say, 200 samples. So that completely depends upon if your population is finite or your population is infinite. So then you can Google, there are different kinds of formulas for finite population and infinite population. You can use those formula for framing your sample size, right, for calculation. That again we'll cover in the upcoming sessions. So this needs to be mentioned. Then you have to mention the sources of data collection, whether you are going to collect the data from primary sources, from secondary sources, or maybe like you are doing a study on the banks. So you are taking some data from Reserve Bank of India. If you are doing some study on the population, you are taking some census data. So that is a secondary data. So you must inform whether you are choosing primary data or secondary data, and why are you choosing that particular method of data collection. Justification again. Then you have to write about the proposed statistical tools which you will use for achieving your objectives and testing your hypothesis. Many scholars ask that how can I write about this at the very first stage. So the idea is that you have to discuss with your senior scholars or your guide, that who will be able to tell you based on your conceptual model and the hypothesis the statistical tool which will best suit your study so that you can have a good answer, right. So why you need to have idea at this stages, because whenever you are going to make a questionnaire, so you must be having those questions so that you can apply that test which can get us the result for the hypothesis or the objectives that we are looking for, so that I'm able to fulfill the objectives of the study and hence justify my entire research. So this entire, again, it's like a nervous system, everything should be connected to each other, nothing can work in isolation. Then you have to write about the scope of the study. So scope of the study will cover about, you have to tell that where my study is applicable, and it is very important to tell where it is not applicable. Okay, so if I'm doing a study on, let's say, on the poor people of Dharavi, so the study of scope, we can say ki, like this study was conducted on people living in this particular area, hence the results are true for them. But again, simultaneously you can give a future scope also, that this study can be replicated and tested in other parts of the country to check if there is a variation. Then you have to talk about the implications or the applications of the study. So you have to provide two different kinds of applications. One, what is the contribution to the academia, that why your study is important, will it add something to the existing body of knowledge. And number two, managerial or practical implications, that how it is going to benefit the managers or how it is applicable in real life. So if we are saying 2 plus 2 is equals to 4, so if that's a very good academic contribution, that we have learned addition, but why it is important for the practitioners, so you can say 2 plus 2 is 4, so it helps in maybe calculating the bills, calculating the wages, calculating the salary, something like that, making a budget, anything. But you must be very clear that why your study should be applied by the practical practitioners or the academia. The last is the proposed chapterization. So once you have everything, then you have to give a brief proposed chapterization, that what is going to come in your thesis, what chapters are you going to plan, right? So that you have to tell them. And finally, the most important thing is references. So whatever you have mentioned from point 1 to point 16, you must have cited some literature, some website, some book. Everything must be referenced here back. So you must understand that whatever is in text must be referenced. So citation should be equal to referencing. Okay, again, in depth we will cover in the upcoming videos. So I hope this is the brief summary, or you can say raw format of a synopsis, which can, again I'm saying, may vary as per the university. But if you know these things and you submitted something like this in the proposal, you are going to have a good interview, because if you know a lot about research, so the guide or the interviewer will be very very happy, and then only little alteration is needed, right? So next topic that we are going to talk about is hypothesis. So we'll be covering it next classes, to be continued in the next video. Till then, like, share, subscribe and press the bell icon. Thank you.